What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here today. A little breaking news action. The Skenes 1 of 1 debut patch has finally been hit. Topps posted on their Instagram feed on Tuesday afternoon that the Skenes was pulled in Los Angeles, California by an 11-year-old collector. That is all that we know at this point, but it has finally been pulled. The much ballyhooed, much hunted for, much money spent ripping product to find this thing, and it has finally been found. Now, what they end up doing with it, we don't know, because we don't even know who the person is. And I have already enjoyed him, and part of the reason why I wanted to make this video wasn't so much, I mean, you could just go read this on Topps' website that it's been pulled. I was curious about where wax prices are at, and kind of almost using this as a snapshot in time of where do they go from here now that this has been hit, but more on that in a second. But I've already enjoyed the people freaking out on the internet that it just magically got pulled by a kid, and I'm using air quotes there, which I find amusing because people are going to get mad, air quote mad, about this, and you can't have it both ways. If someone pulls it off camera and wants to stay anonymous, which I don't blame them on this card, I would probably keep it on the DL until I figured out what I was doing with it. That's their choice, their right, whatever. And the tinfoil hat brigade is probably going to run to some sort of conspiracy theory about that it was backdoored, or that it wasn't actually pulled, or what type of product did it come out of, whatever. They're going to have their little field day. And hey, maybe something crazy went on. I have no way of knowing. But then you can't get mad when a breaker pulls it. Because in this case, according to Topps, it was pulled off camera by a kid. That's like a perfect storm. Is it a little too perfect? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. Does this story sound too perfect? But you can't freak out about it getting pulled off camera by a random kid and be upset and mad about that. And then on the same hand, be upset and mad when a breaker pulls it and go, because that just means, like, how do you want it to be pulled then? If you're going to freak out because some rando pulled it in LA off camera, and you're going to freak out if a breaker hits it on camera, you're immediately going to go to, oh, of course a breaker hit it. Like, wait, who do you want to hit it besides yourself? Or does that just mean you're grumpy because you didn't pull it? And probably most of the people complaining on the internet aren't even buying wax to even try to chase this thing. That's my little, I'll get off my soapbox here. But anyways, the Skenes 1 of 1 has apparently been hit. They post this photo of it. I don't know if this is like it, that they, like, the people that pulled it took this, because I'm sure Topps has all sorts of photos of this card laying around. So let's get over to the more interesting part of this. I guess it's been pulled. Cool. We'll see if it goes up for auction somewhere. I'm sure it probably will. It's just a matter of where, who, and when. I doubt an 11-year-old kid is going to take the Pirates package, but we'll see what happens. I'm sure there'll be more on this, who pulled it, the who, what, when, where, and why, in the coming days. What I was curious about, because sealed wax prices of Topps Chrome Update have gone nutty. I haven't looked at them for a couple of weeks. I've been checking in on them periodically on the weekly market updates, but I haven't looked at them in about a week and a half. Jumbo boxes are over $1,000 now. 1.1K. I kick myself more and more every day asking why I opened the one that I did. So stupid. So stupid. Hobby boxes. Regular hobby boxes. $600+. Hobby boxes are up 160% from release, and jumbos are up 100% from release. Wild stuff. And pretty much all of it's driven by the 101 debut patch hype. Now, the Skenes was the biggest one. I think Jackson Merrill might still be missing. I think one of the Jacksons hasn't been pulled yet. Someone in the comments can fire away. I think most of the big ones have been hit, and there was a lot. This was a very good, very, very good checklist. Very, very good rookie class, covering a ton of different players with a ton of big names on it. So justifiably so. But now the Skenes has been hit. Like I said, I think one of the Jacksons is left. I think Merrill. So there might be one more decent one out there. So now what happens to the price of wax? Does it immediately crater? Does it slowly creep back down again? Like, what happens? Because one thing is, because this card was so chased, you know, a decent amount of this stuff got opened up already for a lot of people chasing this. And that's, you know, one of the great equalizers in wax is, in theory, there's always less of it. You know, you're not making more of it. Once a box is open, you can't go backwards. You could turn, you know, this is something that Pokemon sealed investor bros talk about. It starts in a case. You could take a case and you could turn it into loose boxes. It can never go back to being a sealed case again. The loose boxes can turn into packs. Those packs can never go back to being a sealed box again. And then once the packs are open, they can never go back to being sealed packs again. So there's always kind of like tiers of less of stuff. The cases dry up first, then the boxes dry up, and then, you know, loose packs in sports aren't really a thing, but in Pokemon it is, where loose packs are a very viable thing. So that is where we sit. It's been hit. Hobby boxes are, let's just call it $600. Jumbos are, let's call it about 1,000. You know, where are these in a month? Are they at 500 and 800? 400 and 700? Do they reset back all the way to what they launched at, which was, what was it? 250 for a hobby and about 600 for a jumbo? Do they go all the way back to that? I don't know. Time will tell. But there's less supply out there today than there was 3 months ago, or 2 months ago, I guess, when all this nonsense started. So that will be something to kind of fun to watch over the next month and kind of see how this settles out. And you might ask, you know, why do you care? Like, what's the big deal? It's an interesting data point for what happens to a sealed product when a massive chase card, heavily marketed, heavily pushed, is finally hit. And in this case, it took a while. It took almost 2 full months, over 2 months, for this to finally be hit. So we have a nice long track record of kind of how the market decided to treat these boxes. The secondary market, as it put a vast premium on them, and people were chasing them left and right for a long period of time. We saw it continue to level up. The longer it went, the more the FOMO kicked in, and the more people chased, the more expensive the product got because supply started drying up. You can only rip for so long. Eventually, you're going to run out of boxes, even in the ultra modern era. And now we get to see it has finally been pulled. Now what happens? And that, to me, is an interesting little thing to file away, especially if you like to play in the sealed wax market. You know, how does the hobby now treat these boxes that the big monster huge chase has been hit? You know, the contents of the box a lot of times don't make sense with the price of the sealed box. Once again, you see this in sealed TCG, you see this in sealed sports, you see this in sealed non-sports. The cards coming out of the boxes, I'll use 1990 Marvel Universe as a perfect example for this. The cards coming out of the boxes, non-graded, like not in a PSA 10, and even in a PSA 10 have gotten quite affordable these days. The cards themselves coming out of the boxes are not worth that much money. You're getting slaughtered because they're worth pennies, like 10, 25, 50 cents, maybe $1 in most cases. But a sealed box is $500 or $600. I think it's been a long time since I looked at 90MU, but they used to be in that range. And the reason why is there's just less of it out there. And people, when people rip, now this is going back to ripping like older wax. You know, when you rip a box of something like that, you see, to use a high-end sports card example of it, you'll see Nat Turner rip these super expensive boxes all the time. Like 90s basketball boxes that are $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. And it's economies of scale. You know, I'm buying a $500 Marvel box. He's buying a $25,000 Fleer metal box or whatever. But you're ripping it not so much for the cards inside. It's what we talk about all the time. You're chasing a feeling that puts inside of you of being a younger person when you used to open that product on the regular. When I rip a 90MU box, it's like a time machine for 20 minutes. It takes me back and makes me feel a certain way. It sparks certain memories. It brings things forward in my mind. And that's what a lot of the price is that's built into some of these wax products. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be some nostalgia for 2024 Topps Chrome update, but in a lot of cases, you will see the price of wax not line up with what's actually coming out of the packs. Especially in, you know, like non-sports example like that, where there is no big hit. Like at least in 90s basketball, you could hit some monster Kobe or Jordan or whatever and retire. You know, if you hit the right card, there's some crazy stuff floating around out there. But I don't know. Curious. I'm very interested to see where prices go on this. Very interested to track along and see where prices go on this. But that's all I got for you boys and girls today. Curious for your thoughts and comments as always down below. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.